can Stargate find a new generation of fans, that younger audience to keep the franchise going? Welcome to Sidetrack, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So last night I sat down with young Harris. If you're a regular Sidetracker, you'll know him from the guy with hair that appears on our Sunday shows. He has his own channel, he's doing his own thing over in America, but he's only like 23 years old and he is watching Stargate for the first time in his life. He's such a lucky bunny. He's got all those great episodes that we love that he's not seen yet. I'm so jealous. And he's got really great hair. I hate that guy. But anyway, I sat down with him and I asked him, how did he fall in love with Stargate? What is he looking forward to in the future? And what is he looking forward to in the next iteration of Stargate when it finally hits our screens, hopefully? Here is the interview. So, young Harris, I think you actually came and dropped a few comments on the Sidetrack channel first time because you started watching Stargate, didn't you, I think?
I found your channel almost immediately after I watched Stargate for the first time. I think I just finished rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then I watched The Legend of Korra, I think, for the first time, which both fantastic shows. But while I was watching those, I was reading Timothy Hickson, who is Hello Future Me on YouTube. He does a lot of world building stuff. He talks about how he digests and talks about how to write, particularly for books and things like that, but I like to translate it to film and all that kind of stuff. But I was just finishing his book on writing and world building, and then I watched Stargate, the movie, for the first time.
So did you go into Stargate because you watched the movie then? So you watched the movie first and then you went into the series?
Yes, I watched the movie first, and then I think I actually figured out that there was a series because of your channel. Because whenever I said, I really like this, because I had just finished reading the world building book, and that was what I just watched. I had watched an hour and a half of world building done right after I had just read a book on world building, which excited me, you know? I was like, okay, well, this is great. Let me delve a little bit more. What else is there to Stargate? I know there's more to it. So I Googled it, YouTubed it, and then your channel popped up, and it was not the Stargate that I recognized at all that I was getting. So I was like, there's a TV series, and started SG1 from there.
I've actually introduced somebody to the greatest TV show. You know, that actually generally makes my heart warm that my stupid little channel has actually done good.
It's done great.
Introduce somebody to this. Oh, man, that's fantastic. When you actually started watching the first series then, I mean, because that is a little bit dated compared to, I mean, by the end of the series, I think it's as good as anything on it even being made today. But the first series is a little dated, and that didn't change your appetite to watch the rest?
It took me, I guess we're just out of the whole pandy and all that, but I've watched the last season 4 and season 5 and the second half of season 3 within, I think, a 4-month time period, which isn't super duper fast, but it's kind of, I watch it as I eat lunch kind of thing. It's kind of like my lunch show a lot of the times, or I'll toss on an episode if I got a free hour kind of deal. The first 2.5 seasons took me 2.5 years to watch because it was slow. I loved every little bit of it, mostly for the world building and all that. I'm just a sucker for all that, and I love history, and kind of putting all that together it's my favorite part of the series. But there's so many other things that have been coming out, and I try to see anything and everything that comes out for the most part, and it just kind of got put on the bottom of the list. So if there was another show that I wanted to watch while I was eating lunch, or wanted to watch while something was going on, I would watch that first. And then over time, I think the episode that brought me back in, oddly enough, was, you're not going to love this, but the hippie episode, when they all go back in time, which is not my favorite episode, but after watching it, I was like, okay, I like the concepts here. I really don't necessarily like how this one was executed, but I know they can do better. Let me watch the next episode. And after that, I've just been reeling them out. I love it. It's so well done. The thing that got me to actually start the series, I guess, after figuring out about the movie and then coming onto your channel and all that, and looking into Stargate was the fact that it was MacGyver.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw MacGyver. But back to I kind of roped around the initial question of is it dated, and that was probably why it was set on my bottom of my list is because it is dated. Those first two seasons, particularly, I think season three they add more fun stuff, but it's still dated, just CGI wise. But not in an unenjoyable way. I grew up on Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, so all those little animated shows. But my parents are both 65 and I'm 23, so you can kind of do the math there. I was watching their TV shows when I was younger, and I would watch Andy Griffith's show, Eating Breakfast, all the time. Mary Tyler Moore, Married with Children, all kinds of stuff. So it really didn't feel too dated for me at all, which was nice. I enjoyed it. It just the dating itself though was what put it on the bottom of my list for a little bit.
it was just a very low budget for
Yeah,
initially. I mean, that was expected. They didn't expect it to go on to be the phenomenon it was. I mean, they did not give them any money until about the third season to make the show, and that's even it's my favorite show in history, and I still look back in the first series and I go, "Oh, this is a bit." Which is why I asked the question. Really, I'm surprised
yeah.
coming to the show it didn't put you off though. It just because you still fall in love with the characters, don't you? I think as well, even
That
though they develop.
for them being very archetypal characters, they
Hmm.
could be just one off, easy peasy, and that's almost kind of what they are in Stargate, the movie, I guess, not SG-1. But I guess just adding Dr. Samantha Carter into things, and then I guess you keeping Teal'c and or I guess finding Teal'c and keeping him alongside the whole crew. It's that immediate character development that you
Hmm.
know you're going to follow these characters, and I guess another thing that I was really excited about. I haven't played God of War or anything like that, but my old roommate from the first year in college adored it, and I sat there happy and high all the time just watching him play video games. So I couldn't complain. And Christopher Judge Teal'c is the guy that voices Kratos in those games, and I love his voice. It's amazing. I mean, it's indeed one of the best voices that
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
have to have to.
Don't forget, guys, that if you are enjoying the content, you can hit the join button and become a fully fledged side trekker and really support the channel. Also, if you are new, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. And I was thinking that that's one of the reasons why Stargate is as popular as it is the character development. Like you said, Richard Dean Anderson as O'Neill, two L's, is just and then they did such a good job with that. But that goes into the next question, really, because how does this sort of compare then to the sort of shows that you would have grown up watching? Because I'm thinking like your generation. I think my son is roughly your age, a little bit younger. He grew up watching YouTube. You know, he's like
Yeah.
he didn't really watch. I mean, I with my lads now that I got all the cartoon channels for them when we got Sky, and then I suddenly realised after 6 months I was the only one watching it, so we got rid of them because they don't watch that television. They don't watch TV that way. All TV now is 10, 12 episodes. You know, Stargate's 22, 24 episodes some of the seasons. How does that compare to some of the stuff that you did watch then? Because I mean, there's a lot more of it.
So mentally, I was primed for it because I had my CW phase. When Arrow came out, I was watching it as it. I watched, I think, up until season 6 of The Flash, and at that point, I mean, there was Supergirl, there was Legends of Tomorrow, there was The Flash, there was Arrow. I couldn't do it anymore, and the quality had just nosedived, which is another SG-1 reference because I just got to season 6, episode 2, where they have to nosedive, or O'Neill's about to have to nosedive, and then shoots the Stargate out into space, which is great. Anubis is terrifying. I'm ready for more.
Yeah,
But I was mentally kind of primed for that. I like the 22 episode aspect of things because as someone who wants to write in film and TV, that's just an easy formula just to pick up on. And the formula itself is like, okay, this is what we're doing. Um, And I guess Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, all the animated shows I grew up on kind of did something similar. And the other shows that I would have watched at the time
Mm.
would have been Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and iCarly and those Nickelodeon and Disney shows coming out whenever I was a kid. And those were great in their own rights, but I never came back to back, week to week
Mm.
to watch those. I would just kind of watch them as they came on TV. But I was a big YouTube kid as well. So I think the only thing that kept me from delving straight into YouTube and not really just sticking to YouTube, because I know a lot of people my age that they can't talk like film like I do,
Mm.
but the reason I do is just because I love it so much. I since I was I think in fourth or fifth grade, I know I've known exactly what I wanted to do in life, and most people aren't like that. I'm lucky in that regard, but that's kind of kept me gung ho with film and TV, and I watch old stuff
Mm.
almost as much as I watch new stuff. Maybe not right now because there's so much new stuff coming out, but
Mm.
I try to be as well versed and as well balanced as possible, and yeah, I think that helped. That helped, I guess, mindset wise going into it.
I think your teen years, though, for me, I mean, for my teen years when I was like 13, 14, 15, was sort of like a bit of a golden age of sci-fi, the next generation. So there was loads and loads of really good sci-fi on my telly every single day. It's just like, and I think you potentially were in, I don't know if you agree with this, but we're in a little bit of a black hole sci-fi wise. There wasn't a lot of TV shows when you were 13, 14, 15.
I mean, sci-fi wise, back then was really just Star Wars, the Clone Wars. I mean, it
Mm.
was I was such a big Star Wars guy, and I still am. But at that point, all the animation was coming out, and whenever Clone Wars was done, and all of Star Wars got bought out by Disney,
Mm.
I didn't realize it until I guess Rebels was done. But then 4 years after, I dove right back in and was happy because we got more Star Wars: The Clone Wars later on as well. But I think that really satisfied my black hole of sci-fi for my younger years. But something I forgot about a minute ago, one of my favorite series growing up as a kid that I think really rooted sci-fi in me was Ben 10. Just I don't know if you're
Even I
familiar.
love Ben 10, to be fair. I was a terrible one for watching cartoons with my children. And they were like, Dad, I don't want to watch it. Shut up, watch Ben 10. I actually I watched Ben 10. But
I
I was
like
a
it.
fully grown adult watching Ben 10.
Yeah. I've rewatched it since. I think I rewatched it last year, and the original Ben 10 series maybe doesn't hold up is not the right word,
Mm.
but it's still fun. It is so much fun. And I did like when they went into their teenage years because that's the one that I kind of I think watched first before I went back and watched the original series.
Mm.
I think that kind of implanted like conceptual kind of things in my brain because a lot of
Mm.
that is hit a watch different type of alien that does different cool concept, you know.
Mm.
And that is where I think that love for conceptual sci-fi grew from, which Stargate is
Yeah,
so well done.
it's generally never a good idea to go back and watch the things you enjoyed when you could. I went back and watched the original He-Man series, and it ruined my childhood. I was like, how did I watch this rubbish? But cartoons were different back then, though. They couldn't afford to do, like 80 shots a second, and they had no computers to support it. So it was just like, we'll just draw the mouth moving, and nothing else moves in the screen for like 30 seconds because we can't afford it. Um,
The
but
best
yeah.
older cartoons I feel like that are still fun to watch are Tom and Jerry's, you know, stuff like
Mm.
that. Because the only good, not the only good, but
They were
the
the
better
golden age. Yeah, golden
older
age.
shows to watch are like Mary Tyler Moore.
I could still watch Tom and Jerry now, and the old Bugs Bunnies, the Warner Brothers ones. Yeah. To get back to Stargate, though, is it like
Yeah.
a new coming to the series, somebody that's watching it for the first time? For me, it's my favorite sci-fi show ever, and you've not got to the, you're getting into the real meat of it at the moment with the new this series and everything. But can you put your finger on sort of what you think makes the show special? Why are people still talking about it now, even though it's been off our screens for over a decade?
So I mean, with Stargate, the thing that got me excited from watching the movie and made me want to watch the show was the world building and the thought behind the writing. I like not only the thought, but probably the thought process that went into the writing. If don't kill me, Mr. Emmerich, but I think Stargate might be Roland Emmerich's best film on a purely writing standpoint. Maybe Independence Day is more, it's a better film, and there's a lot of other things that he's done that are actual good films, yada yada. But I think Stargate had such a larger scope than he probably even realized at the time, which allowed for a show to come in and run 10 seasons. And then that show had a spin-off show for 5 and another for 2, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that all came from one movie, which had to lay the groundwork for all of that. And I'd read the book on writing and world building right before I had watched that movie, and that just it made me fully invested. Just
Mm.
having that mental, I guess, note of, okay, let me enjoy and learn the process of growing a world out. It feels so natural in the way they do it as well that I love it. I think the thought process behind the writing and just the way they decided to world build from that in a very grounded and realistic sense. I've the little bits of Star Trek I've seen feel like that could be a future version of ourselves. Star Wars feels like it could have been a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and still a long time to come in a galaxy far, far away, or probably one not too far off from our own. I think the two things of sci-fi. Oh, to bring it back into, I have never been that much of a video gamer in my life.
Mm.
I'm very highly specific on like what I play. I used to love Pokemon and stuff like that, but after I kind of got out of that phase, I would only play your Skyrim or your. I still haven't played Red Dead Redemption, but that type of game's right up my alley. I like Far Cry and Fallout, things that like I have to fully divest into a character and learn about a world in.
They have to
And
get
one of
that in-depth thing. You don't
yeah,
want to just play you don't just jump around. You actually want a story and a
I want
thing.
it to feel like a movie, just
Mm.
30, 40 hours longer in a way. And the thing that really probably did sci-fi for me just as much as Ben 10 and Star Wars growing up was the Mass Effect series,
Mm.
the Mass Effect games. And I think between Stargate and Mass Effect, those are the two most realistic depictions of, I think, how possibly we will deal with aliens whenever we get to deal with larger species more than just us, because it can't just be us out there unless we're in a dark forest, but that's a whole different topic.
Yeah. Well, I think that any alien species is just probably very, very far away, probably. But no, I completely get your point about the grounded, and I always say that was my favorite thing about Star Trek, and sorry, that was my favorite thing about Stargate is that it is grounded and realistic. We said in the video last week, didn't we, that it was always that evolution as well. They did build starships and they did go out into the galaxy, but they did it in a way that was just like, yeah, this is what would happen, maybe. And that's why I'm worried about the new series of Stargate, because we're so advanced. I don't want it to be Star Trek. I want it to still be Stargate. So you know bits about what's coming up because you've talking on our channel and things. You know a little bit about Atlantis. You know a little bit thing. From what you've seen so far of Stargate, what are the sort of things you are looking forward to? You said you're into Anubis at the moment. Are there things coming up that you think, I hope this happens, or I hope it goes that way, or
Technology wise, yes, because like you said, it's kind of the perfect. It's not an elevator. They're not shooting straight up to the top. It feels like an escalator that's taking its time, but doing so like a steady pace. It knows where it's going. I just got. I think I literally The last episode I watched was season 6, episode 2, right after they blow up the Stargate 3 million miles away from Earth through the hyperdrive from the X-302, which they would not have had their glider turned spacecraft wouldn't have gotten flown out and shot out in the space with Apophis and Teal'c and Colonel O'Neill and all that good stuff. But I technology wise, I'd love just to keep getting that little bit by bit, and really that's the only thing I'm looking forward to, I guess. And I say that because I'm trying to keep an open mind. One of the other things that got me onto Stargate in general was the fact that I knew that there were 2 other series, and I like that just because I know there's good world building at that point. Because if you had a good enough series to make 1 and you can expand it to 3 and still have good ratings, first off, I saw MacGyver. The other guy I saw was Jason Momoa. And then Ming Na Wen, I was like, okay, 1, 2, 3. I'm happy. I gotta learn this. I gotta get into it. And I'm still very excited for Jason Momoa. When I get to SGU, I'll have Ming Na Wen, and I'm sure other people
Yeah,
as
she's
well.
barely in it. I won't get too excited about that. She's very much in the background and not really in it. They don't utilize a brilliant actress as much as they could do.
She's excellent, especially in sci-fi.
Oh yeah, God yeah. Stargate Atlantis, though, you're going to really love, I think, and SG1 as well. SG1 reinvents itself a couple of times, so particularly in series 9 and 10, I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's still SG1, but Richard Dean Anderson actually basically like semi-retires. Towards the end, he wants to spend more time with his daughter and things, so he's not in it as much. But they bring in Ben Browder, who you will love from Farscape when you get around to watching Farscape.
Yeah, okay.
We get an injection of new characters and a new villain and everything, and it reinvents itself. But in Atlantis, we get a whole new team of. Have you met McKay yet? Has McKay been in any of the Stargates you've seen yet?
Oh
Rodney,
yeah. Most definitely. Oh yeah, he
Rodney
plays
McKay.
a part in what I just watched. Yeah.
He has a main part in Stargate Atlantis, and he
Oh, cool.
is the center of. David Hewlett is one of my favorite actors, and when we get Stargate back, I really hope they get a part for him somewhere. But yeah, Rod McKay is fantastic in it. But Shepard's, it's still got the same fun that they unfortunately sucked out of it for SGU. It's still got the same fun as SG1. Like you said, Jason Momoa is brilliant. You look at this now and you watch his character in Atlantis, and you go, he's going to be the big actor that he turns out to be. You just know. I'm watching that show going, this guy is going to be huge. He's going to be a big action star, and it's just fantastic. But also Joe Flanagan, who's a character in this, who plays Colonel Shepard. Again, is just a really lovable actor, and these characters that you just fall in love with all over again.
That's what I'm looking forward to the most. I'm keeping an open mind, which I'm typically good about, and I'd say the characters and the technology. That's what I'm looking forward to. The conceptual stuff and the character development.
Yeah, and that's what you've got to look forward to. You lucky bunny! I am so jealous of you that you get to watch it for the first time.
I'm jealous of myself, honestly. I get to come on here and get to, because there are people that I know that hate spoilers and all those type of things, but I believe it's a John Hopkins study, I believe. But I cite it all the time. Anticipation is more rewarding for the human brain than surprise ever is. So it's just as fun to hear these spoilers and then to try to just mentally theorize how that's going to happen. Where is this going to go? I know these characters are here and they're part of the story that I'm at now. I know they have this much to get to before they get to that point. How is that going to happen? And I'm just reeling in it for however long it takes me to get to those points. And I love that. That makes me so happy.
I do keep trying on live shows when we talk about these things not to ruin it for you, not to tell you too much, but you've got so much to look forward to.
Oh, just the little parts that y'all do, though. It's just so enticing. Y'all mentioned Anubis beforehand, like right as I was kind of getting into season 5, and I was like, oh shit, here we go. Here we go. And now I'm in the thick of it. He just tried to blow up Earth, and I know that's not the only way that he's gonna be going at it. So
yeah. We keep trying to tickle you with these things just to keep you involved. But mate, you've got some really amazing stuff to look forward to. So, obviously, from talking on my channel, I talk a lot about hopefully a new series. What are your hopes for a new series, or what do you have any? So, yeah, I haven't got through the whole series yet, so you're not as invested maybe as I am, and I've had 10 years to think about this. But I'm quite nervous about Stargate returning, and particularly the way they make certain TV shows at the moment. So, do you have any hopes or fears about potentially Stargate coming back?
Yes, definitely. And one of the things that I love so much about it, once again, it's my favorite word. I'll keep bringing back into fold, but world building. The show that just the way this is built reminds me of the most is Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Just because it takes something that we already know, expands upon it, and leaves avenues open for so many other different things. And they're not necessarily written entirely similarly. I guess in certain ways because it's fun, campy sci-fi that can be kind of watched at any ages. But there's some very serious things going on, and there's some very uh, grounded and well thought out bad things going on in the universe that all of our characters will have to deal with. So, with all of that, just being the beginning of 6 seasons in and a TV show, I mean, and a movie, and I know that there's 3.5, 4 more seasons of just this one show, 5 seasons of another, 2 seasons of another, plus the whole comic book that they finished up SGU with, kind of like they did, I know, with Firefly and Serenity and all that.
You got a couple of TV movies as well.
I forgot about that.
Can continue.
I did watch Stargate Catherine at a certain point.
Oh dear.
And that was awful. But that was like a little web series or something, and it was like, it was supposed to be a prequel sort of like thing, but I knew
it was a bit of ahead of his time there. They did that a bit too. They were trying to do an internet-based series when streaming hadn't quite got going yet, so I think they were a little bit too ahead of their time on that one, and they never had the budget for it, so it was just not very good. But yeah, they were too ahead of their time.
That would have been just before AMC and Walking Dead would have started putting out their webisodes as well, which I think that was right as that kind of hit off kind of deal.
Yeah,
but yeah,
didn't work.
That wasn't my favorite, but it added enough to the lore where it made me think a little bit. It didn't take away from everything else that I'd already seen. But with all that being said, I have over half of Stargate left to watch in a lot of ways.
So about a new series coming though, what do you hope that when a new series does come?
Do not reboot it. I do not want a fresh start. I want to continue with these characters. There's way too much time. If I've already invested this much time, 20, 25 years after the original series came in, that would just, my heart would sink. Like the second they would be, we're gonna start anew. We're gonna do Avatar: The Last Airbender, but live action on Netflix. Why? I mean, it could be good, but also there's already such a rich source material to garner from. Expand. There's no reason to reboot it just for the sake of a new generation. Keep that old guard there and let that old guard bring in the new guard. I don't know. I would be very upset if we got a full reboot and we did not just get a continuation of some variation of the story, because I'm not halfway through the story yet, so I don't know where it could pick up. But once again, my brain just theorizes in these different things, and every single one of those options excites me. I know you talk about the Furlings, which if I get some evil version of Ewoks, I'll be ecstatic. I don't know if they're completely gone or what, but that storyline I'm excited to see. That's creepy enough. I just saw the original AI that they found that made the replicators, and they give her body to the Asgard. That's interesting in itself. I mean, there's so many different ways that they could take this. Obviously, we talked about SGC and came up with that kind of little idea. If they need a good show that's campy, but also with a formula that they can base off of, SGC would be perfect. That's the only kind of thought that I really would have to give them to be like, this would be the show I want, because I haven't seen enough to really say something yet, and that's just where my brain would go to be generally, where could they have their cake and eat it too,
I am completely running with your SGC idea, and I've gone with I've basically now sketched out 6 series based on this SGC series you came up with. So I've got
kind of like House of the Dragon in a way, where they keep time hopping all these different things. Each time hop could be its own prequel series. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't do that with how popular each little set of characters had already been. SGC could do the same thing, just not time hopping and just tossing in. Give us some Tolan stuff. Give us some Tok'ra stuff. Give us.
Oh yeah, the Tolan are going to be in my.
Gold.
I've got the first season. I'll sketch it out now for you. It's the first season. We see that the Tolan refugees, the people, the Tolan that are left, have sort of like we have an alliance with them, and there's the first season is based around the SGC, but a mysterious character does come through the gate, and he's very interested. But we use that character, and we find out he is a Furling. But I won't go into too much detail. Then the second series was Atlantis that I did a video on, and we see the Atlantis and the Furlings try to capture it, and they're trying to rebuild that thing. Then we see the SGU, they save Eli. Then the fourth season is a flashback to the ancients, and we find out why the Furlings are now a protagonist. Fifth season is going to be aboard a new BC 306, and then the sixth season will actually be the culmination of that whole thing, where we actually have an open conflict with the Furlings, and that is my 6 seasons that I've sketched out already.
I mean, that sounds amazing, though. That sounds like everything I can imagine from someone who hasn't seen all that could want, and that sounds like something that people that have seen it would like as well.
That's the thing. The more I think about it, the more excited I get about it. And I'm like, if they don't make this show, whatever they do make, I'm going to be disappointed by it, because it won't be my SGC or your SGC show.
It's our side Trek SGC.
Damn right. Oh yeah. I'm just So I'm really enjoying thinking about that as well, and just and it's just completely fan fiction and completely out of my brain, but yeah, it's fun to think about. But yeah.
I don't see all that many different ways where they could take a new show, I guess, just from where I can guess where they leave off on SGU, just knowing that there's a spaceship floating off in the ether in a way. It doesn't necessarily feel like the easiest thing to pick up off of, but they've laid the groundwork to do so, and to do so well, I think.
Yeah, there's so many ways that we can go with the show, that if Amazon decide not to do it, which is still a big risk, which is why we want Stargate hashtag that we keep going for on Twitter. But for me, there's no way Amazon aren't going to do a new series of Stargate. It keeps trending on Twitter. It's trending TV and movies again at the moment in number one.
I see it more and more on YouTube as well. You talked about Podcast earlier in the episode, or in our live stream, and
the podcast guys go, "No, we know your channel. We watch your channel," because I know you do. You've referenced it more than once.
Yeah, no way.
You little tinkers.
I've seen a couple of their videos, but the one that I see all the time is Nerd Cookie's videos. She has a bunch of videos that comes out, and she has a bunch of good stuff. That was, I guess, we didn't talk about, but we put it on the Sidetrack stuff on our Facebook group. Was the Dean Devlin and Jonathan Glaster are making the Ark, which sounds like an interesting show in itself. But
yes, I think that'll be an interesting show. Please go and find Mcubed. There is a link in the description. It's a great channel. Harris does loads of brilliant videos. He's going to be doing a lot more videos on our channel as well, looking at classic movies and new movies, and asking the question, should you buy a ticket or should you skip it? Look out for those. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. And if you enjoy the content, don't forget, please hit that join button. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.